Hi there, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Annalie with Broadway in Chicago, and we are joined by Morgan. Hi, Morgan.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Morgan is Eurydice in Hadestown. We're going to talk about all the things. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. We'll get to as many as possible. First of all, Morgan, how are you doing? How is Chicago so far for you?
I'm actually from Illinois, so being in Chicago is really exciting. It feels like being at home. I lived like 2 hours away from here, so all the theater I used to watch when I was in college and high school was Chicago theater, so it feels amazing.
Oh, we're so glad to have you back here, back in your home state. First, I want to go through some rapid fire questions just to get to know you a little bit, if that sounds good to you.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, what is your favorite dessert?
Oh my God. I think it's chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, a classic. You can't
Classic.
go wrong. What is your current favorite album slash artist you're listening to these days?
I'm always listening to the Black Panther album for some reason. I just always listen top to bottom.
What is your current favorite TV show if you're watching one these days?
I'm currently rewatching Succession, so Succession.
Succession, awesome. And then what is being back in your home state and in Chicago, what are some of your favorite things to do around the city?
I love the Field Museum, the Shed Aquarium. I love going to Nando's.
You
Just
can't go wrong.
family, you can't go wrong with Nando's.
Awesome. And then what was the first show that you were ever in? It doesn't have to be professional.
The first show I was ever in was Macbeth in fourth grade.
Macbeth in fourth grade. That seems like a pretty heavy show for fourth grade.
Intense. Very intense.
All right. So off that, I want to start at the very beginning of how or what really sparked your love for acting. Was it that fourth grade performance in Macbeth?
I think it was. I went to a Montessori school in Decatur, Illinois. It was the first public Montessori school actually in the state. And my teacher made the arts mandatory for everyone in class. So we all had to take part in Macbeth and like the musicals. And we did it word for word. And I'm so grateful for him because as a teacher, he really just debunked this idea that there was like material that was inaccessible to you. He really made it accessible to us as fourth graders. We did a dog version of it first where it was just dogs like being the characters, and then he just gave us the full text, and it was amazing. And I think it really shaped my idea of theater and performing.
Absolutely. So now you're here now. You are starring in Hadestown, which was a truly spectacular production and so visually stunning. And you specifically, you did such an incredible job with a stunning, beautiful voice. So thank you so much for sharing your talents with us. What made you say yes to the role of Eurydice and Hadestown as a whole?
I would have to say Rachel Chafkin. I trust Rachel as a director and as an artist and as a collaborator. I hadn't seen the show before auditioning for it. I worked with Rachel at ART and we did Moby Dick with her and Dave Malloy. And I just really loved her process and her way of making art. And I just love doing new things. And I was in a really special position doing this show that I'm allowed to be my own Eurydice, which is very different from Divas, who I also really appreciate and adore as an artist. And, doing this piece while still in a pandemic and traveling the country, it's like, it's a perfect opportunity as an artist to not have to like shirk off the world, but to actually accept it and like bring it into your art and bring it into the character. And so I would definitely have to say that having Rachel as a director, and I'm very well aware not every director is going to be like, come in and make this show, but like knowing her and knowing her artistry and the way that she creates characters and art was really just brought me into the piece.
Absolutely. When when you were preparing for this role, did you have a prior interest or knowledge in Greek mythology, or was this something that was newer to you?
It's definitely something that was new to me. I think one thing I do really like about Greek myths is how very little that you know. So you have these like benchmarks and you kind of get to fill the benchmarks of these characters and their storylines in. Um, she also said something really interesting in rehearsal process, that being in a piece like this is going to require you to be bigger than yourself, which I think is really like hard and really like daunting, especially on stage. Just this idea that like I'm me plus 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 plus. And yeah, I do think that doing old text really like allows you to just be like bigger than you are, which is something that I'm loving figuring out how to do. Like, it's still obviously like a learning process, and something that I'm still figuring out how to do as an artist, but also something I hope to bring into my personal life.
Absolutely. Are there specific things that you did that helped you prepare really, really well for this role?
I was in a very specific position because I got the job right before the shutdown. And so I have been sitting on this role in this news for quite some time. So I think of myself as an actor first. This is how I brand myself. I'm an actor first, a singer sometimes, a dancer never, is what I tell people. But I so much time just practicing, learning how to be safe vocally, because it is a marathon. This role is a marathon, and this character goes through a lot. And so I didn't want to be so in certain moments that I hurt myself, but I also didn't want to minimize the desperation or the loss and trauma that the character was going through. So it was a lot of time singing in my parents' bathroom, and my mom giving me commentary and taking voice lessons, and also giving myself the grace to just like stop. Like, I don't know when this job is going to start and when we're going to get a hold of this pandemic and keep each other safe. So I took some time away from the character as well. So really just pacing myself, looking at the material objectively, and also knowing that art is collaborative. So there's no decisions I can make alone in the bathroom that are just going to hold when I get into the space. Artists that are giving me their energy as I'm giving them mine.
Absolutely. And now you are here now, you're on tour. Tell me, how is tour life for you?
Tour is very difficult because you're constantly changing environments, but in that same sense, it's also rewarding because you're constantly changing environments. You know what I mean? You're getting to bring this to people who maybe can't afford to come to New York and see it, or who have seen it in New York and just want to see a different take. So you feel this personal responsibility to give them this story because so many people have been waiting so long to see it. And also I feel that Hadestown is just a really great introduction to what theater can be for people who maybe have never seen theater before, but also a really inspiring piece for aspiring artists as well, because our show really just represents a full spectrum of representations and diversity on stage.
Absolutely. You mentioned the changing of just the different cities and different venues. We have a question here from someone. How does the CIBC theater compare to previous theaters you've been in?
One thing I can say about the CIBC theater is that it feels the most like the Walter Kerr. I feel like I can have access to everyone in the house. We've been in some pretty big houses where there are moments that really just magnify how big Hadestown is, as far as like when Eurydice goes down, when the space is so vast, it really is not imaginative. It's vast, and I'm feeling the vastness of the actual space. And then there are moments where it's just, you as the artist with the audience. And because I can almost just feel everyone in the audience there, it really does feel like you're just having this small conversation. And so I've really enjoyed being in a space this small, which has been very different from a lot of the other spaces that we've been in.
Speaking of the space, we have a few questions about the turntable on the stage. Is that hard to navigate? What was learning that like?
It was pretty funny for a little bit because, a lot of people don't understand that when you're rehearsing, you don't have any of the tech. Everything is just like tape. Even sometimes levels are reflected and represented by tape. So there were times when we got into tech, I was like, whoa, jumping on, especially in like Wait For Me, especially in like there were a few moments where I was just alone in a corner, like literally doing a run through, and I was like falling, like alone by myself. Like me, gravity, we're not like working together. It definitely is something that I learned that you just have to do confidently. Like you can't be shy about like owning the turntable. I also one time just like bent down and kissed it and was like, let's be friends. And that was the turning point for me at the turntable.
That's incredible. I I want to take a moment to talk about the chemistry you have between you and the other cast members and also the band as well. Seeing you on stage, you can definitely tell that like you were so comfortable with each other. Tell me a little bit about the community you have with the other people on tour.
You know, I find strength in others. I think that it's such a hard task to try to find all the strength inside of yourself. And I'm not going to say I haven't been that person or I'm not that person sometimes. But in the moments where I really do feel like I cannot make it, or as I often ask before a show where I'm really tired, am I going to make it? I found my strength truly in everyone else on stage. There's something really magical, at least for me, with the workers, as I look at them as like at any given moment, any of them could step up and tell their story about how they got to Hadestown. Do you know what I mean? Like they represent the world. They represent how quickly life can change. And I have something special with each of them above ground that makes below ground heartbreaking because it's like, I remember you and I saw you there. It's almost like my Dorothy moment where it's like, you were there and you were there, except like not so pleasant. But, you know, like, it's like, I remember them. And I think it's just so important to individualize the characters and not wash over them, but like have something specific with them. I also really love connecting with Persephone because both of us as Black women, there is something really special about seeing her joy above ground and then see her below ground. It's like, wow, I remember you above. And when I go down, it's like, you're here. And there's something heartbreaking about that, but there's also something inspiring when I see the turn in the peace between her and Hades, that if they can have what they have, then maybe I can also have that as well.
Mm, I love that. Wow, that's fantastic. I want to jump to just like your experience as a actress yourself. Do you have any advice to give for fellow actors who are earlier in their career?
Yeah, I think my biggest advice would be to love yourself, to know you're not going to be everything for everyone, and to practice being the best artist you can be, which is surrounding yourselves by other artists. I think one of my favorite experiences about being in New York was just like doing readings at Columbia for free and just like remembering why I love being an actor, because those are the people that are going to be directors on those shows that people are looking at Instagram now. Like everyone's just trying to perfect their art, and perfecting art hurts and it's messy sometimes, and it really makes you look at yourself in a very transparent way, and you can't rush perfection and you can't rush artistry. And I would just say, like, say yes to yourself and also know yourself. You know, if you feel comfortable in jeans and tennis shoes when you audition, like, go into rooms in jeans and tennis shoes. Like, clothe yourself in what makes you feel special and makes you feel like you can own the space. And that would be my biggest advice, is just like perfect you and know that you're not going to be for everyone, but you're going to be the right answer for someone.
That's so wonderful. We are nearing the end of our time, but I do want to ask, why is it important to see Hadestown today?
I think it's important to see Hadestown today because there's something in this show for everyone. I believe that there are people in this production, as in characters, their stories, their experiences, that people that don't have access to need to see. And then there are people that don't regularly see themselves reflected that need to come and feel seen. I hope that this show really reignites in our world the need for humanity from person to person, and that even the most broken among us deserve love and community and second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth chances.
That's so perfect. Well, Morgan, that was a wonderful way to wrap this up. Thank you so much for sharing your time and talents with us. We're so grateful. Everyone, Hadestown, not a show you want to miss. It's here only through March 13th at the CIBC Theater. Get your tickets, BroadwayInChicago.com. Morgan, thank you so much again. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your time in Chicago, and best of luck with the rest of the run.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Bye.